Welcome to Recovery Unfiltered. I'm Larry. I'm an alcoholic.
I am Rob. I am also an alcoholic. We are not professionals. There are no letters after our names. We know very little. However, you will hear the word God and a four-letter word in the same sentence. You will also be offended. So if you are easily offended, just pass us by. This podcast is not for you.
Our opinions are just that. If you don't agree with what we're saying, that's okay. We're going to love you anyways. We are not in any way affiliated with AA.
So sit back, grab a beverage of your choice, and get ready.
Let's go.
It's where very few people stay sober for long term. It's actually 5% of alcoholics, and the other 95%, they say, die drunk of causes related directly to alcoholism or respectively drug abuse. So you think, okay, there's only a 5% chance that you're going to make it, but then it's like, oh, but those 5% stay together and keep each other safe, like in the wildlife, like the pack. Predators don't generally mess with the pack. They want the one that wanders off, that's weak, that's injured. Yeah. So by staying in the pack, you kind of, and that's really what sober people do, is they mob up.
Mob up. What do you think about that, Rob?
He's not wrong. I think the percentage is not quite that high, but it doesn't really matter. I get his point.
Wait a minute. Welcome in, Rob.
Hey, welcome, Larry. How you doing, Larry?
Welcome to Recovery Unfiltered. I'm Larry.
I'm Rob.
Shit. We're so unprofessional about this.
Yeah, whatever. It's unfiltered.
You're a bad influence on me.
But one thing I wish he would have mentioned was the big elephant in the room.
Right.
The steps, all this, the camaraderie means nothing if there's no power behind it. God is the power. We have an avenue, and we keep each other accountable, really.
Yeah. So I read that, I saw that the other day, and I was listening to it, and it struck me, right, when he says that we stay inside of a mob. I feel like when I came out of recovery and I got involved and I started I stay inside of a pack. We really do. I feel like I do, but I'm comfortable there. Right. Yeah. I'm still little over 2 years sober, but I'm comfortable there. Now, I like getting out. I like going to other meetings, but I need my fellowship. I need my home. I need to be there. Right. Mm-hmm. And that makes me comfortable. So, hey, we're going to bring in our guest today. I'm so very excited to have this person here with us. And I got to know her the first time I went into Primary Purpose. This little shining light was sitting over there, and she was just as happy as can be. And she pissed me off. God dang it, because I was still uncomfortable. I didn't know what I was doing, and she was just too damn happy. Welcome in, guest. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Mary. I am an alcoholic.
Hello, Mary.
Hi, guys.
I'm so excited to have you here.
I actually met you before Primary Purpose, and I don't think you remember.
No.
I met you at treatment. I went to continued care.
Really?
And I was there.
Wow.
I remember the whole bit, babe.
I'm glad you remember it.
I was sober.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You were in treatment.
I was probably still coming down.
You were foggy, my love.
Oh, my gosh. I had to be fairly new into it.
Can you guys that Larry foggy, but still trying to control the world?
Oh, yeah, it was bad. It was rough. He took it was a hour-long meeting, and he talked for a good 40 of it minutes.
Absolutely. Because by God, don't you know?
What's wrong with that?
Nothing. That's a perfect world right there.
That's so funny. So, Mary, I'm so happy to have you here. There's so much we want to get through with you. We're going to let you tell your story for a little bit. Rob and I are going to break in and out, probably asking some questions, because that's what we do here on Recovery Unfiltered. I love listening to stories, but I also want to stop and talk a little bit more about certain aspects of that story. So that's really what we want to do.
Why did you do this? Why did you call him that at this point? Why did you throw that?
Right. Yeah.
Do you have any good stories about me? I remember you, the first time I saw you was at Escalon.
I do remember you. The first time I met you, had a Christmas tree in the bed of your truck.
There we go. See?
Sure the hell ain't playing Santa Claus with that little bitty ass frame of his.
No, but he was making sure he brought presents to everybody.
I'm like a buff elf. What are you talking about?
He's the worker among workers, guys.
That's so funny. So tell us about yourself, Mary.
Well, I'm a Leo.
Atta girl.
I have been...
It's not a dating show.
Sorry, my bad.
Long walks on the beach.
Let's see. My sobriety date is... I have chosen a day, actually. There's that week when you stop drinking until you realize, I stopped drinking. So which day actually was my first day of sobriety? So mine is somewhere between the 7th and the 10th. And I'm going to go ahead and just give it to the 10th.
Gotcha.
I like round numbers.
There you go.
So my sobriety date is August 10, 2021. I stopped drinking 3 days after my 39th birthday, or excuse me, 3 days before my 39th birthday.
So you didn't even wait to celebrate your birthday?
No.
You were in bad shape.
So we're coming up on 3 years.
Yeah. Yes. A few days. 10 days.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. We'll knock on wood.
There you go. We should have brought you a cake. Could have
No.
celebrated.
No cake, please. You know, I have, this is a family disease. My family has not been exempt from that. My grandmother on my father's side died from alcoholism whenever she was in her early 40s. I never met her. I'm actually named after her. My name is Mary from my grandmother
Wow.
on my dad's side and my mother's side.
Mm.
So I drank. It was fun. You know, I started drinking in my early 20s. I didn't do the whole teenage drinking bit. I didn't do all that stuff. I waited till I was 21. But when I was 21, man, that shit was good.
Yeah.
It tasted good.
And what was your drink of choice?
At 21, I was all about the kamikaze.
Okay.
I wanted some
Because
shots.
that's all every little kid knows, right?
Yeah, kamikaze. It's green.
Right.
It's nice.
That or
and
Long
shiny.
Island iced teas.
Top shelf, baby.
Right.
Top shelf.
You don't want a hangover, right?
No.
Well, when I was 21, I went out on my 21st birthday, and that was it. I liked how it felt. And for
Hold
the
on,
next...
you'd never had a drink before that? You never even tasted
All right, so
alcohol
the
on your lips?
story is when I was very young.
Pulling her out now.
Yeah, when I was very young, family members had come over and they were, drinking alcohol.
Right.
And, I'm young and I'm sneaky and I do stuff. So the story is I got my hands on a bottle of whatever and guzzled it. My mom spent the next 30 minutes to an hour on the poison control, wondering what to do
gosh.
about me. But it wasn't in our house. Right. So because it's a family disease, we tried to manage it for some other people, right? So in order to keep that alcoholism away from the family, we kept alcohol away from the alcoholic.
Right. I got you.
So in my family, I am the youngest of 6. All of my siblings, save for one, have had problems with alcohol or addiction of some sort. All of us, except for one, are in recovery right now. The only reason I say that, I don't have contact with my oldest sibling. I don't know where he's at, and I don't know what his life looks like today. But I have relationships with my sisters now. I have wonderful relationships with my sisters now.
So say that again. You had 6 kids in the family?
I am the youngest of 6 children.
Okay.
My
5
dad-
of 6 are in recovery, though. That's
Right.
goes against the
5 out of the
mathematics.
6 are in
Right.
recovery right now.
Right. And they're all, so what's the sobriety time of the rest of the family? If you don't mind.
No, not at all. So as the youngest, I have nearly 3 years. I'm coming up on 3 years. My sister that's closest to me in age is coming up, I think, on 9 years.
Wow. Okay.
I could be wrong, but I think that's what it is. My sister that's next to her in age just got her 2-year chip.
Nice.
I can't be more proud of her. I love having that
She
relationship.
local around here?
No, they actually are in the Bay Area.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
But they do come from time to time and visit. You guys probably have met them at one of the fellowships.
I met him at the house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm awesome, buddy. The little elf gets around, son.
And then I have an older sister that I have never met. I don't know how long she's been in recovery.
Okay. But she's still in. She's still good.
Yeah, I know
Okay,
that
good.
she's sober.
Good. Yeah, that goes against the little percentage there, doesn't it?
Right, in my own little family. Kinda
Right.
crazy. We're not terribly unique if we can find a solution that works for us all.
All right. See, my ADHD took us down a squirrel hole. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Like all of us, drinking was fun for a period of time. I am a woman, so what happened with me is I found myself pregnant at the age of 23, and I was alone because the person that I found myself pregnant with, the father, he was a drug addict, and in my world, drugs were so much worse than alcohol. So I gave him the option, hey, you can have your drugs or you can have your kid. And he chose his drugs. So I was alone I knew from the very beginning of my pregnancy, I would be a single mother. So at that point, I began a period of being a dry drunk for about 3.5 years.
That's miserable.
Yeah, it's rough. Actually, maybe 3 years. I worked. I was a single mom. It wasn't as miserable as you would think.
Right.
You were too
I was
busy
too busy
surviving and living and
Yes.
providing.
Yeah.
So I decided it was time to change things. I had a bariatric surgery. I'm a big girl. I'm 6 feet tall. I'm not going to tell you how much I weigh, but it's a fucking lot, okay? And it used to be more. So I had the lap band surgery, and still life was good, but I lost some weight. And I mean, wouldn't you know, she looks good when she's got some collarbones on her. So I started dating.
Now, and how old was your child?
Kyle was 2.5, almost 3.
Okay.
I started dating. I had a couple really weird relationships where we'd go out and have a couple of drinks and then come home, weirdly. And then I found a person. I found a guy. He was my dude, and I was going to stick with him for a while. So we got married. And I would love to say it was rainbows and sunshine all the time, but it's not. It's marriage.
Right.
Marriage is hard, and sometimes it sucks, and sometimes it's great, but most of the time it's mediocre, and that's okay. I like that now.
Right.
But at that point, we were going through some things. You know, our lives were not easy. We were bringing two families together that didn't know each other and didn't really want anything to do with each other. And it was stressful and it was hard.
What do you mean by that? They didn't want anything. The families, the outer families, or
yeah, like
did he have kids?
No.
Okay, so the actual
In-laws.
in-laws. Gotcha.
And I'm not.
It
saying,
wasn't peanut butter and jelly.
No.
Right.
I mean, we weren't mixing together like peas and carrots.
Right.
We were mixing together like carrots and mud.
Right. Yeah.
So and they live together, but they don't do well. You have to wash one off to get them tasty.
Right.
Anyway, it was just a hard transition because I was a little bit older. I was 28 when I got married. So after I got married, there was a little bit of strife. There was some stuff that we had to work through together. There was some issues. And I'm not saying that any one of us was better or worse. I'm just saying that we had to figure it out. And for me, I figured it out with a bottle of booze. And then I found myself pregnant. Guess what, guys? Every time I find myself pregnant, booze is so easy to say goodbye to. Later in life, I found out the reason that is because my self-worth is not what it should be. So whenever I feel like there's something more important to me, more important than me, it's easy for me to let go of it. So when I'm carrying a baby, that baby's life is the most important thing. It's worth so much. I didn't really think about drinking ever when I was pregnant.
Do you think that's a lot coming from a lady's perspective? Does that happen a lot? Well, I hope it does, but
I can't speak for other women.
My wife was she was not a drinker or anything, but when she was a smoker, and the only time she would quit, pregnant, then baby out,
responsible.
Smoke.
You're right. Responsible for another human being.
Right.
Yeah.
And some people get it, and some people don't. And I'm not going to say that it makes any woman a bad mother or a bad person. I just think that my disease at that point for me hadn't gone to the point of no return.
Right.
I was able to say, no, I can put this down.
Right.
There was a time that I could not say that.
Huh.
So after my second son was born, life, right? We had this little family, and we were, we're moving up in the world, and we're having these goals. And then a year after I had the baby, life was great, and
Life
it was
good.
happening. And, I'm an alcoholic that when I celebrate things, I do it with alcohol. When I want to relax, I do it with alcohol. When I want to be happy, I do it with alcohol. When I want to be sad, when I want to commiserate, when I want to, all of those things, they always included alcohol. Always. It just wasn't a party if it wasn't there. It wasn't a heartbreak if it wasn't there. It wasn't every day. It wasn't worth it.
That was our solution.
Amen.
Right. Yeah.
So I drank and drank, and then I found myself pregnant again.
How old was your second one?
My second one was a year old. He had just turned a year old. On December 19th that year, I had the first of 4 miscarriages in the next 2 years. It was rough, and I don't know, maybe we can put a blip in here, but I feel like...
Was that before baby number 3? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
I had 4 miscarriages between 2 and 3.
Okay.
Actually, technically, I had 5 miscarriages between 2 and 3. I was told that I miscarried whenever I was pregnant with Adam. We went on vacation to Disney World, and right off the airport, out of the airport, heading to the park. Cooper gets a fever. He's sick as a dog. It's hotter than Hades there. We run over to the emergency room. Cooper ends up with hand, foot, and mouth disease the day we show up at Disney World. Anyway, I got sick in the emergency room because I was having a miscarriage. So they decided to do an ultrasound to make sure I didn't have to have a D&C. And they found a 12-week-old baby.
Ouch.
So the theory is two things. I could have had some sort of hematoma, some sort of hemorrhage while the fetus was attaching, but the likeliest of stories is that I miscarried a twin.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which
That hits home right now. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
my husband's a twin. So
Yeah.
anyway, that period of time where I lost those 4 babies was just alcohol, marijuana, pills, pregnancy.
But never while you were
Miscarriage.
pregnant.
No,
Right,
no,
right.
never.
I wanted to make sure that
Never
got
while
out
I was
there.
pregnant.
Yeah.
The second I found out I was pregnant, it was done. And I actually had gone so far as to trying to have a hysterectomy because I was having so many miscarriages. And every time they would start to schedule things, I'd pop up pregnant again. Just couldn't leave me alone.
But all that alcohol.
Right? Well, anyway, when I found out I was pregnant with Adam, I stopped drinking completely, obviously. And he was my 3rd child. And I didn't drink maybe 2 years. We were at this, I worked someplace and I lived above on the property. And then when we moved from there, we got in this little house, this little junky little house, and it was so miserable. There was no air conditioning and no heating, and the flooring was terrible, and there was it had single pane windows, and it was hotter than hell or colder than a witch's titty. But, and at that point, I was kind of doing the job hop. Just, my husband had a job and I kind of had to do something to supplement our income. Right. So I'd have a job and then I'd get pregnant and then I'd have a kid and then I'd be home for a little while and then I'd get a little job and then I'd get pregnant and have a kid and be a while. But,
a lot of drinking apparently. Hey, but now, okay. Kamikazes.
Yes.
So now you're home, married, what are you drinking? Because you're not going to the bar having
Tennessee honey, baby.
Oh, okay.
I'm a whiskey girl.
Tennessee
honey.
That's my girl. I knew there was something why we were tight.
Well, wait, it gets better because that wasn't the drink that I ended with. That.
Don't tell me you went to vodka.
No, it gets worse. It's worse than vodka. I went to coconut 99.
What the? Jeez, you're not a real alcoholic.
The double shots.
What the hell?
I'd have 20 of those things a day. Easy. Easy.
You couldn't smell it on your breath.
Oh, yeah, you could.
Oh, yeah, you can. That's a myth. There is no such, that's a myth.
You can see it in my walk. What are you talking about? Smell it on my breath. But, so, we kind of got into this hard patch. I still had to grieve, I think, for the loss of my kids, but I never had a chance to. I never had an opportunity to sit down and say, that was my baby and I lost it. That was my baby. And I didn't get to bring it to this world. And it was a hard thing. And I remember when I went to treatment, excuse me, I'm probably going to cherry pick this one.
You're good.
His name was Jeff. And I don't think you had him when he was there. But anyway, he made a point to look at me in my face and tell me, don't you think God would have given you that baby if it were perfect?
Really?
Yeah. There was something wrong. The baby couldn't live. But I was so stuck up on the guilt of not being able to take care of him and be a hospitable home or a good mom or be able to do those things. It stuck with me. It stuck with me after Adam was born. It stuck with me for a few years. Because I don't think women who have had miscarriages or loss of a child in their early life get enough support. And I'm not saying that just enough support through the county or through the church. I say enough support in general because my body was growing a baby. I had hormones pumping through me. I was physically pregnant and then I physically wasn't. I went through postpartum depression with every miscarriage, but I didn't get to have time to heal my mind or my soul for those things. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I didn't get time to heal my body. When I had a miscarriage, it was the very next day back to work. The very next day.
Back to drinking too?
Fuck yeah.
Oh.
Hell yeah. Well, how was I going to get my ass back to work if I had to forget?
Right.
I had to be able to put a smile on my face and be a light.
Right.
And that's how, and we stop ourselves from healing when we, as alcoholics, turn to that as opposed to, we're not ready to receive. We're not able to receive
Help.
help.
No.
You know why? Because at that point, I was so proud and stubborn. And my ego, because my ego said, you know what? You had control over those things.
Right.
You could have taken care of it. That's the craziness that my alcoholism tells me. That's the lie it tells me. You are strong enough.
Yeah.
And that's a lie. But what I've learned over the last few years is not being strong enough is not a failing. It is not.
No.
Not being strong enough is natural. It is human being. It is being who you are the moment you are that person, because that's the only chance you get that second.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to change. I'm going to change.
Right.
I'll have somebody else's words in my head, somebody else's experience, and my mind will change. Anyway, I forgot what I was going to say about that.
That's how.
We're talking about
I get
support
Right. It's
support
okay.
for women.
Right. It's not, it is laughable. And I can tell you that even now, we'll get more into it, having
Right.
had the experience I've had now,
Right.
I'm still fighting to get the help that I need.
And I don't mean to get away from recovery, but I
No.
think that's some of our listeners may be very interested in hearing that. Help from where?
Help from doctors,
Okay.
insurance companies, because here's how I have learned insurance companies handle mental health.
Right.
When you have an insurance company, they will sub out the mental health portion of your coverage. So most companies, if they say you have Kaiser, they're going to sub out to like Carillon or something.
Right.
Anyway, you have to have an evaluation with your insurance company.
Okay.
Then you have an evaluation with their mental health company. Then they decide whether or not you even qualify for services because of what they have heard from you over the telephone.
Here's the fucked up part about it.
Everything's the fucked up part about it.
They don't give two shits about the person suffering.
Nope.
And
You might find someone, and if the person on the, which I have found going through cancer and having to deal with, luckily twice. I mean, I had great insurance, but still, I was blessed to have someone on the other line that had went through, or had or actually their daughter had gone through what I went through, and this lady was just,
Right.
Just so I got a lot of help that way, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So sorry to get off on that, but I wanted to, you said that a couple times, and I wanted to make sure that we're clear on that. I kind of knew where you were going, and it's disgusting.
I'm actually, it's anywhere. Because I could walk into a hospital and tell them that I'm having a mental health crisis.
Right.
And if they don't lock me down for 72 hours, they're cutting me loose.
Wow.
It's either or. It's not both. You don't get help.
All right. Sorry, I got
that's
to.
okay.
Well, no, but
going down
hold
that.
up, because this is recovery.
Right.
That's
No,
recovery.
You're 100%.
And up to this point, we've had you and me, dipshit 1 and 2. We've had Jason, which is awesome, right? But now we got a woman,
Right.
and all
Coming
Mary's
another
awesome.
perspective.
So this is something
Another
we need to.
perspective. No, I'm
We
good
want
with
to
it.
broaden our audience. I don't want to
Right.
deal with just sword fights out here. We got to have some, some perspective, son.
Well, it's bringing up another. Rob, that's a great point, because we're getting another side of it that us men are not. We don't go through those emotions, right? We don't feel that kind of stuff. Well, we in our recovery,
Because we don't carry
right
a life.
Right. Well, the hormones are completely different.
Absolutely.
Right? The hormones are completely different. But so the mental health. So let's get back a little bit, and we did go down that road, but
Swing me back. I can't remember where I was talking.
so we were talking. You were saying that you just didn't get the help that you were needed, and you went back to work.
Yes. So I went to work, and in order to be able
Back
to work,
to drinking.
I had to drink.
Right.
That's whenever Adam was about 1.5 years old. I think that's when I started drinking daily.
Gotcha.
And because I lived at home, I lived at work, my alcohol was always ready for me. It was there at break. It was there at lunch. It was there whenever I just felt like walking into the kitchen and getting a drink.
Sweet.
Yeah, right.
a setup.
Convenience.
I had the same thing.
So, what ended up happening after a slew of jobs that I've had to quit, some of them could have been great opportunities, but drinking got in the way of it. After a slew of jobs I quit, COVID happened. And I was home with the kids for COVID, and liquor stores, surprisingly, were considered
Necessary.
a necessity, a necessary business. So I didn't have a problem walking into the liquor store and getting my regular 5 shots for the
You
morning.
didn't have to show your face either.
They knew me. They knew my children's names. They had my regular purchase waiting for me at 6:15 most mornings.
It's for
Yeah.
That's
me
you,
too.
buddy.
I had the same thing, Mary. I the store I'd
Right?
walk into every morning at 6
You might have to
o'clock.
cut this out, but I'm going to say it. Larry to come in. Hey, boss.
Yeah.
There it is.
Hey,
boss.
I don't have to
Boom.
cut that off.
Yeah.
It's true fact.
Right there.
The liquor store I stopped in every morning, I would walk past the counter. Hello, boss. As I went back to the back to grab my tall cans because just the whiskey wasn't enough.
Right.
Come back up, pay for the tall cans, pay for the whiskey, and out the door I went.
I can do you one better.
Hit me.
I was so well loved at my favorite liquor store. They hired me.
Did you? Were you working off a tab?
Yep. No, actually.
Did you apply or did they just say,
She asked me, do you want to work? I said yes. So I came. She would pay me my wage and I would drink like crazy the whole time I was there.
Wow.
I actually did a financial amends to those people. I want you guys to know that I went to her afterwards. I spoke with her and I did a financial amends. She did not want to take my money.
Wow.
She did not want to. She was a beautiful person and she was always there, ready to say, you should just take better care of yourself. I think that was what she was trying to do, was to help me take care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And she would have an eye on me while I was there at the store. So
tell us what got you into Maynard's.
okay.
Yeah.
So like all of us, a crisis got me there.
Right.
I had bad feet, really, really bad feet. I couldn't walk, and I'd gone to the hospital more than once, and I'd gone to the doctor more than once to get all this blood work. But I was so drunk, I was so belligerent, they wouldn't talk to me anymore.
Wow.
So it turned out that I had gout really, really badly in both of my feet, just completely untreated for months.
Alcohol does it.
Yes, so bad.
Intensifies it.
Yeah. So I got a doctor's appointment to go see a neurologist for the neuropathy in my feet because I can't feel them anymore. I dropped my son Cooper, my middle son Cooper, with my mom, and my husband had my youngest son, and my oldest son was in school. And I started drinking from Oakdale. I hit just about every single liquor store from Oakdale to Modesto downtown. And I bought 4 or 5 shots each time I went. Mm-hmm.
just buy a fifth, woman?
Right?
It would have been cheaper.
You should have seen the mountain of mini bottles I had. You
Hid
should have
and
seen
stashed.
in our garage, there was just a big ass mountain of mini bottles, and those little packs, like the little, little 8s that you get from like little
Right.
things. It was so terrible, so bad. Well, so
So you're drinking on the way to the doctor's
drinking on
appointment.
the way to the doctor's
Hammered.
appointment. Drink when I get there. As a matter of fact, when I get there, they told me, "Oh no, it's a telephone appointment. You don't even need to be here." So I took that time to go ahead and hit the liquor stores on the way back home.
Yeah.
And in that time, I have very few occasions where I've been a blackout drinker. I'm not a blackout drinker.
I've never had a blackout I remember.
Yeah. If not that, I remember it all. It's a curse. But I blacked out that day and I drove home. And I went about my business, and my husband came home and he's like, well, where's so-and-so? And I'm like, oh, well, right there. And I think I told him he was at home, and I went to talk to a neighbor, and then I got a phone call from my mom. Where are the boys? And I could not remember. I had no idea where I left my kids. No fucking clue. And my mom took them. Thank God. Right?
Yeah.
Thank God my mom took them. Because the cops could have taken them at any point in time.
CPS could have came and got him.
CPS could have taken them at any point in time. Thank God that my mother did that hard thing.
Did she take him before you got back from the doctor?
No. She waited until 6 o'clock. I was gone all day.
Okay.
All day.
Who watched him when you went to the doctor?
My mom had him all day.
Oh, okay.
My mom had him all day long, but she knew I was drunk.
Oh, wow.
And when she called to ask me where the kids were, and I had
Oh, she had him with her.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
yes.
I missed that part. She was testing you.
Yeah,
she
boy.
wasn't testing me. She was proving a point.
Gotcha.
The test was
The test
all these little airplane, all these little
I had
bottles
failed.
Test failed.
Okay.
Right.
I got you now. Wow.
Yeah. And so later that night, I think we went to go get them from her, and my spouse had also been drinking. So she said, absolutely not. And I'm going to tell you how bad of an alcoholic I am, how bad the disease had me that minute. I was able to stop every time I had the thought of a kid, every time I had the thought of a baby in my belly. I drove with them every minute of the day drunk.
Mm.
I grocery shopped. I cooked. I left them places. Said, wait here. I'll be right back. I wasn't a good mom. I had deluded myself. I had somehow convinced myself that I was the best mom and everybody should see it. And when they didn't see it, I was so mad.
Mm.
They just hate me. Everybody hates me. I don't know why they don't like me. Everybody thinks that the worst are all judging me. Well, in actuality, they were.
Yeah.
But they were judging me rightly. I wasn't a good mom.
Mm.
I was a bad mom.
But in the time, you thought you were a good mom.
Yeah.
Did we all?
Yeah.
Right? Because my disease, I'm a liar,
Right.
cheat, and a thief. I will lie to myself. I will cheat you, and I will steal whatever I need to.
Right. And we'll manipulate the shit out of a situation.
Well, we're the first person we lie to. And then once I'm
Right.
thoroughly convinced,
Oh,
I'm going to lie to you.
absolutely.
And I can sell that.
Oh, I'm a
you know,
salesman.
Because
bud.
at that point, we're not lying.
Right.
No.
I
we
think it's
believe
the
our
truth.
delusion.
Right.
I'm insane.
Right.
So I got to, went home. And actually that night, I drank again.
Mm.
And I think I drank for 2 or 3 more days until my parents called and said, I want you to come to the house. We want to talk to you.
And they had the kids this whole time.
They had the kids the whole time. And I was, I think at that point we were looking around for, again, with insurance, trying to find some treatment
Right.
I could go to because
Right.
I could not. I had to have help. I had to be removed
Mm-hmm.
from
Me too.
everything
Yeah,
else.
there's no way I could have. How people do that, can walk in the doors.
I'm in awe of people like that. I really am.
I'm thoroughly, yeah, I just don't, you don't know what you're capable of until you turn that will over to God. But
Or over to somebody else. I
Right.
could have turned my will and my life over to the care of my dog
But
at that time and got better results than I was doing.
Right.
but when you're that deep, you ain't willing to give shit over.
You're terrified.
I'm-
You're terrified because all you know is this.
Right.
And the fear of the unknown, the fear of anything else you don't know, you're terrified.
I didn't know. Yeah, I was terrified. Everything. I'm still, 2.5 years sober, whatever. I still don't want to turn a lot of what my will over. Right. I still
You're
fight it.
shitting me.
You shut up, Rob.
I wonder how that
Shut up,
control is
Mary.
going.
Shut up, Mary. You fucker people know me too well. I got to get some guests in here that don't know me.
Okay.
Oh, they'll figure you the fuck out in about 2 seconds.
About 5 minutes in. How's that 2-minute
Okay, let's
intro?
get back to the subject here.
Okay, so you're getting ready to go. Okay, they've got the kids. It's 2 days you've been drinking.
I've been drinking.
Then
My mom calls,
here comes intervention.
come in. Not even that.
No, just
It wasn't
come
even
on
that.
over.
So we had been trying to, with my insurance. I had Medi-Cal. I'm poor. I have Medi-Cal. Couldn't keep a job. It's COVID.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was going to be a month for the county behavioral intervention. I didn't qualify for anything else or any of the treatments in the area. I wasn't going to make it. I was going to drink myself. And I'm pretty sure if I kept drinking, I would have been done in maybe 6 months.
Yeah.
So when we got to my parents' house, there was a moment, and this is that one moment of clarity that I have. And that's that moment I can say now from looking back, that's the moment that I decided I am not doing this anymore.
Yeah, it just gave me goosebumps.
Mhm.
That gave me goosebumps because I remember that.
Yeah. My parents lived in Riverbank, so we were in the car heading from Oakdale to Riverbank, and we stopped at a liquor store. And my spouse came out and he handed me a bottle, and I looked at it and I said, I don't want that.
Really?
That's amazing. But I mean,
That's the first time I've said that. And I remember, I think he got mad. I think he threw it into the back of the van. But I remember thinking, okay,
You fucker.
I did it. I didn't drink this one. If I can, that's that moment where that moment of clarity comes. And at that point, the white knuckling began, right? Because there's a brief period of time from where I didn't drink to where I actually got to bed at treatment.
Okay.
But I was with my parents, and my mom is, you don't dick around. She
She's
gives
awesome.
you the eyes. She is awesome.
Yeah.
She saved my life more than once. And I have.
Well, she
I
did
owe her
5 other
more.
ones too. I mean, she had her share. She had her experience at it, right?
She is a unique and wonderful woman, and I hope that everybody gets an opportunity to meet her. Don't ask her to give you her opinion on anything, because she will.
We'll opinionate the shit out of each other.
That's right. I don't think you'll win, Larry. You don't know my mama.
I met the woman, Larry. Don't.
Well, so my mom asked me, "Are you done yet?" I think she actually said that. Are you done? If you're done, we can work on it. And I looked at her and I cried and I said, I'm done. I don't know what else to do. And my parents, and my spouse and my husband, we all sat there and we talked, and we called over to the treatment center, and they said, we'll have a room for you on Tuesday. Anyway, in between that moment and that night, there was an altercation. It was,
we'll get to it.
Yeah. It wasn't pretty, and it wasn't something that I'm proud of. And it's something, though, that I can look back now and say that I'm grateful to God to have it happened, because I can look back, and having had the spiritual experiences of the educational variety, I can see that if our relationship had been better in that moment, if that situation hadn't happened, I would have returned to that home, and I would have been drunk in weeks. And that's not to say something bad about my spouse or my family. What it does say, though, is that we have had a relationship that lacks in accountability. And in order for both of us to become accountable, one of us had to take that first step.
Okay.
At least that's how I feel.
Yeah, because you were coming from a home of you were living with an alcoholic.
Yes,
Yeah.
we were. I was an active alcoholic, and my spouse was also an active alcoholic. You would never think, though. We used to say it's alcohol's not his problem; it's my problem. But it turns out, I feel like my alcoholism, is a catching disease. So if I'm drinking and I'm an alcoholic, drinking alcoholically, everybody around me is going to get sick too. And some people will pick up a bottle, and some people will pick up whatever else they need to cope. So anyway, that moment where I said, no, I don't want that, was the moment of clarity for me. And so after the altercation, I actually had to make some big decisions because of that altercation, and because I was leaving town for a month to go to in-treatment therapy for alcohol abuse at Maynard's. I had to make arrangements for my children. At that moment, my spouse was in jail. I didn't know where he would be or how long he'd be in. And I was leaving in 3 days to go to treatment. So I filed to give my parents emergency guardianship of my children, so that while I was away in treatment, they would be able to make any kind of medical school decisions. Because it was right there at the cusp. I was going in August. They would start school well before I got home. Anyway, and then I went. I was up in the mountains, and it was rough. I realized a lot of things about myself in those mountains.
Let me ask you one question.
Sure.
So those of us who've been there, which is all of us here, there's one more person at the table we'll get to. He's been there too. But when did you, I know Larry's story, when did you get comfortable? When did you man, this is something that this can work for me?
Oh, if I'm looking back, it was probably a good year, at least.
No. When you were at treatment.
Oh, at Maynard's,
you had 28 days. You were
really?
on pins and needles the whole time.
Well, yeah. I couldn't. Let's not forget, I had gout really bad in both my feet. I couldn't stand for long periods of time, and when I did, my feet, I couldn't move. It was painful. And it was 110 degrees in Tuolumne, where there are no air conditioners. I wasn't comfortable. Did I start coming to some realizations there? Yes. I never got to the point where I was comfortable with myself or with the people around me. Something that I'm really good at is, it's a character defect. I overcompensate always. If I'm afraid, I'm the bravest person in the fucking room. Right? If I feel less, you're going to know I'm more. Right? So I always...
You're a poker player.
I don't know. Probably not. I have tells. But no, I didn't really get comfortable there. I will tell you, though, I enjoyed the classroom setting.
Right.
I'm a really good at learning. I took a lot of notes. I actually still refer back to my notes.
Yeah, I still have my notebook. I go through that thing sometimes.
Oh, do you ever just go through to read how crazy you are?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
If I brought it out here right now, you guys would think that you should have been in a straitjacket.
The only thing
thought
I
that then.
had for mine is Chris, who's
Right.
down here, had me write down, because you're 28 days. What do you think you see yourself in a year?
Right.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years? That.
I still
And
have
I
that.
sold God and everything way short of where I would be.
I actually just read mine the other day, and mine are in there too. That same thing. Chris had me do the same thing.
I believe I did something similar. However, I can't remember what I did with it. No, I do. I did something very similar. It was more like first year goal, 5-year goal, 10-year goal. But it was, for me, it was my sponsor had to say the sky is the limit. You are not limiting yourself, because I have to do the affirmations because I'm the worst person in the room. Right.
You tell yourself that.
I know that.
Oh.
I know that you guys are all smarter than I am. You guys are all more successful than I am. You guys have better friends, better families. Everything about you is better than me, because that's my disease.
Right.
Right.
That's your thought process.
That's how it works for me.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, though, because I strive on the pat on the back.
Yes.
I need that validation from time to time. Otherwise, I feel like I'm just flapping in the wind. I get it. I get it now through better avenues. I'm not looking for crazy people to give me a crazy pat on the back anymore.
Yeah.
I'm looking for, I want my kids to look at me and say, hey, I love you.
Right.
I want to be able to walk in a room with my shoulders back and my head held high
Right.
and not be ashamed of anything, because by God, I have accepted responsibility and I've done what I need to do.
Right.
Well, anyway, when I got home was when the real work started, right?
Amen.
So while we were there, Chris, he has this thing, the five things to stay alive. You go to a meeting, you get a sponsor, you do the steps, become of service, and you don't pick up.
Yep.
And I did that for months. I also had my mom drive me to every meeting. I also had to pick me up from anywhere I ever went. She drove me and picked me up, and that was about 2 months because I was afraid I'd go to a liquor store.
Mm-hmm.
Fear lived so rent-free in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
It was so painful to just look. It's so painful to look back and see how much of my life I wasted in fear. So,
Amen. Amen.
yeah, it was, and I didn't even realize it.
You know, for me, how I dealt with fear is making other people feel shitty.
Overcompensating.
Oh my God. I would make you feel like a piece of shit in a heartbeat just to step over the top of you, because I was afraid that you may be smarter than me, but I'm going to prove out front that you ain't.
I was afraid you're going to find me out. You're going to find out the truth about me.
Oh yeah. For sure.
I was afraid that you would look at me and not take a second to understand what I thought.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm a pretty legit chick. I'm cool.
I'm
all right. I have some weird ideas, but I'm pretty okay.
Drink of choice sucks, but other than that, I love you.
So tell us.
I was at COVID.
Yeah. How did you get into primary?
Chris, of course.
Yeah.
Chris L. every single time.
Right.
He asked me one day. I was again struggling because I was never comfortable.
Right.
I was getting ready to leave.
Right.
Crying over there by the flipping classroom in the bushes, getting ready to do my laundry. And he comes around and says, Mary, what's got you down?
Oh, I can't wait we got to play that back when he's on the show.
Oh my God, Mary. That was awesome.
And no, it gets better. It's better. It's a good story. There are certain points in my recovery where there are certain phrases that people have said that have resonated and stuck with me. Yeah. And he asked me, he goes, well, do you believe in God? And I said, yeah. And then he says, I forget what I told him what was the problem. Whatever it was. I was probably, somebody looked at me funny. My feelings were so raw. Anyway. And he said, do you believe in God? And I said, yeah. And he says, do you believe in Jesus? And I said, yeah. And he goes, what do you think Jesus would tell you right now? And I said, I don't know. I'm not Jesus, clearly. And he said, if you walked up to him and said, I'm here, I'm ready, he would say, I've been waiting for you.
Right.
And I love that. I actually use it now when I'm talking to newcomers because it's literal. There is an army of people waiting to reach out and help you.
Yes.
it is a beautiful thing, like what Steve-O was saying,
Yep.
that mob or that pack mentality. My people call it the herd, because what do? What does a herd do? They find the weak guy, and the weak guy stays in the middle.
Yep.
They protect the
But
weakness.
I had a hard time. Did anybody have a hard time with that? Coming in, I didn't trust anybody.
No.
A lot of things that happened to me. So, okay, all these people want to help you, ready to help you, ready to just give up their time, talent, and their treasure to help you for nothing.
Right.
I had a hard time with women.
Well,
I had a really hard time with women.
So my biggest thing for drinking is I wasn't comfortable in a room full of people. I didn't trust a soul at all. And it had nothing to do with that room of AA that I was walking into.
We are not affiliated with AA in any way, by the way.
That is not a recording. That is literally everything, every time. But I was that way, work, anything. I was in a room of people. I had to drink. I was just not comfortable. So to walk into that room for the very first time, I literally wanted to crawl out of my skin.
I was there.
Oh my God. Yes, you were.
I remember.
And I wish somebody would have taken a video of that me walking in that first day, because I was
anonymous.
We can't video. It's kind of a thing.
What did I say?
You wish
wanted
somebody could have taken a
somebody to
video of it.
It's
Oh,
anonymous.
right. I was on a point. Damn it, Rob.
I know. Go ahead. Keep going.
But when I was not comfortable being in that room until I went through my steps. When I went through my steps, that fear, because I did my fear inventory, that fear fell off.
Just like it talks about.
Right. I went from being scared to be in that room to wanting to be in that room.
I remember that too.
Yeah.
Then the cheering
Well,
in
somebody
that
shut Larry up. I went from the scared guy in the back to, good Lord, who lit him up, right?
It's like, say, those teddy bears you get, you pull the string? Larry's string is like a football field long. Someone pulls that son of a bitch and, Jesus.
You see his
Pull the
legs all
batteries out of that
going.
thing.
Right.
He's like the road runner with his legs going all crazy.
So, Mary, tell me, let's jump ahead a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So you're in recovery. Because I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here, and I'm going to have you backtrack into the story. I want to get to this point. I remember sitting there with you, not really knowing a lot, and the first time I saw Mary crying, right? The first time I saw Mary crying, and I'm like, oh gosh, what happened?
I think I know you're going.
I'm like, what is going on? And I remember vividly where I was sitting, and I remember where you were sitting, because there's this bright light lady who's always, you were always that one that would cheer me up.
Because when you would share, I mean, I'm a man.
How about just sing when she would sing in the room?
But when you go into, because I've been to a lot of rooms, there are a lot of people, men mostly. I try to listen to everybody, but there are a few people that I can hear. When they share, I can hear. John's one of them. I can hear them. I hear Larry, but very few women. Marianne and you. When you would share, I could hear you. I'd resonate with you. I don't know what it is. So
absolutely,
you just focus. I mean, it was just, there's certain people that just speak your language. Even though everybody's speaking our language, there's people I can just hear.
And there's certain people in the rooms you wanted to hear from, right? I mean, when you walk into the rooms and you go, I want to hear from him. I want to hear from him. And that was it. And that day, sitting there, I was 3 seats down from you on your left-hand side, and you were sitting to my right, about 3 seats over, and you were crying. And when it came time for you to share, you said, my divorce was final.
I was there.
Yep.
I was sitting across from her.
And we hadn't started cheering
I
yet
got she gave me a big hug, and I was like,
and I'm like, okay. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
You okay with that?
You made her cry again.
No, it's
dick.
Well, hey,
No,
listen,
I
this is
remember what it
unfiltered.
feels like.
Yeah, it was.
That's the point.
We all felt it that day, though, Mary. We all did, because we knew we loved you, and when we were hurting.
We hurt.
I was hurting.
When Larry hurts, I hurt. Believe it or not, not as bad, but I hurt a little bit.
So yeah, let's pick that up.
So my divorce took forever. I filed for divorce directly after I left from rehab. So I think in October of 2021, it wasn't finalized until I think May of 2023. I'm gonna be so honest right now.
He is the love of my life. He is the one I thought of, the one I dreamed of, the one I wanted, even before I met him. I even knew him then. This is the guy that when I think of the person that's going to be there at the end of my days, it damn well better be him.
Now you're gonna make me
Because
cry.
nobody else is good enough. Nobody else. So, and we had gone through some stuff. We have a long story, and always, the one thing that always was loud and clear was there was never a lack of love, ever. There was always a lack of accountability, always. Because sometimes, you have, I feel like we were immature. Whenever you're a kid, you love irresponsibly. You love all the way out loud without thinking of any consequences for any of your actions, right? And I think we loved like that for much longer than we should have. It should have changed into a more mature love, and we didn't. Because we were drinking and we were doing all the things. So, what happens when you're drinking? You forget to mature.
Yep.
So, I filed.
You see what I mean? I hate to, but when you speak like that, who doesn't understand that?
Right.
Who doesn't that resonate? Whether you're one of us or not, who doesn't that resonate with?
You just about made me cry right there. So, just listening to you to talk about how much you loved him, it's because
He's pretty cool, though.
He's all right.
F him. He's got married. F him.
will.
Whoa!
Sorry.
There's
You can cut that one out.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Hell no. Hell no. That one's not getting cut. So yeah, let's move on past. Go to that. So the divorce is final.
The divorce is final. And in my brain, I was alone for the end of my days.
With your kids.
With my kids.
But you still are alone.
Yeah. Well, and here's the hard part too, because we have kids together.
Right.
I'm alone on the peripheral of his life.
Correct.
And the thought of it was so soul crushing and miserable, because I knew eventually, he's a good looking guy and he's got a lot of stuff going for him. Don't even, Larry. I'm big. We'll take this outside, big boy. Anyway,
Ass whooping.
he'll like it. Anyway, it was that soul crushing feeling. So the only thing I could think to do was go spit it out in a room full of alcoholics.
Right. Perfect place.
That was it. I remember I actually called him that day to tell him that it was final and bawled my face off to him.
How was his response?
It's okay. I'm still right here. I'm still going to be here forever.
Was he drinking?
Oh, yeah. But all I needed to hear him, even through my whole process of going through the steps, because my spouse is a big deal in those steps, right? I couldn't bring myself to talk badly about him. I couldn't do it. There were things that happened that I really didn't like. But even while telling my story, that part of the mess is unnecessary because we were both so sick. And I'm not going to hold a sick person's feet to the fire when I can see that they are desperately trying to get better. So,
but he wasn't trying to get better at that time.
No, I was about to make that happen. After that, I think maybe a month after that, he was with the kids up in the mountains. And the boys got home, and our young guy, our little guy, Adam, he was a rat. He would rat you out in a red hot minute, man. If you sneezed and farted, the whole place knew that you farted. Anyway, so I think there was some drinking involved. I don't know the whole story. I've never asked for it. All I know is that in my custody agreement, I know that there is to be no alcohol or drugs 24 hours before you have the children. And I have that right. And so does he have that right to hold us accountable for our kids. And we have it written. It's an agreement, and it's signed by a judge. We have that right. I waited to talk with him until the next day. So Adam came home and said, well, Dad and Papa had a big fight. And blah. And so Papa's driving from now on. So I waited because Adam told me what had happened. And I called my sponsor because that's what I do. In early sobriety, especially if I had to make any decisions, if I had to have any kind of conversation that made me uncomfortable, I called her and made sure that I talked to her about it. So all of the shit, I beeped
You're
it.
good.
Okay. All of the shit that's running around my mouth and my head, I can spit it out, right? If you have a mouthful of shit, spit it out.
Good sponsorship is
And long-term sponsorship is really important too.
You were about it a little over a year, weren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, because I thought I remember you celebrating your year, then announcing the divorce.
Yeah. Yes. I was almost at 2 years sober
Right.
whenever
Yeah.
the divorce was final. So while he was the next day, after having spoken to my sponsor and going over how to set boundaries, because boundaries are a big deal, even when you're not married, even when you are married, even with any relationship, boundaries are a big deal.
Amen.
And I don't know how to do that very well. So the next day I called him while I was on my way to work because I only wanted to give him a few moments because I still love him. He's my guy. I want to give him every sympathy, every empathy. I want to be there in his corner. And it's hard to be the guy that has to hold your feet to the fire whenever shit's getting fan, So I talked with Rob actually before I made that phone call. I have known had known him for almost 2 years at that point. I had seen him, 4 or 5 or 6 different times, and we talked regularly. And I had asked him if I could give his phone number to somebody that I really thought would really benefit from some help. And so that was before I called my spouse. I called him, and I think I remember saying,
Your divorced spouse at that time.
yeah, my ex-spouse. I remember, you got to get your shit together, buddy. I said that. You got to get your shit together. Somebody had to take my kids away from me to get me there. Don't make me have to be that person for you. Because that was the only leverage I had. It was the only thing I could think, because that's what I had to have. I had to have everything in my mind. At that point, everything was taken from me. Looking back, I can see that I was giving just about as much away as was getting taken.
Amen.
So I had to tell him in no uncertain terms, if you keep drinking like this, you don't get to see your children anymore. And that's a hard thing to do. I have so much more respect for my mother now having to do that. Because he's a good dad.
And he does love his children.
And he loves them.
That's the leverage you had.
Right.
And so I used it. I gave him the phone number and I said, do with what you're going to do with it. I'm telling you, call that guy, and I can guarantee you, if you listen to him, you're going to feel better. And I think he did call. I think he did make that phone call that day.
Yeah, you were on your way to Vegas, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, you're hot.
Uh-oh.
What's your name?
What's
Guest
your
number
name?
4?
I am Matt.
You are the spouse
I
in
am the
question.
spouse
You're the
who-
sexy guy she's talking about.
Yep.
You know
Boy,
what?
did
Yes, you are.
I wasn't always.
Welcome in.
Oh, yes, I am Matt.
What's
I'm
your
an
name?
alcoholic.
Matt, he said Matt. He's
Matt.
just he is very soft spoken young man.
I'll try to speak up. So, yes, my name is Matt. I'm an alcoholic. I am the ex-spouse, working on my way back to being spouse.
Currently
Currently engaged. Long road.
To who?
Hard road.
To who?
To that beautiful woman right there, Mary.
So tell us.
he has to say that
we're
where he
gonna-
sleeps.
Mary, you shut up now. Your time's up for a little bit. Shut up. We're talking to Matt now. This is a man show now. Leave us alone.
Wait, where?
Oh.
Sorry, guys.
When Mary called you and told you that day, get your shit together or no more kids. Tell me that feeling.
Yeah, no, that was gut-wrenching. I knew that I had made a mistake and that I was screwing up, but I needed that help, and I couldn't ask for it myself. I needed someone to go and physically give me a number or give me somebody's hand and say, "You need to be with this guy. He's gonna lead you to sobriety." I was scared. I was scared to do anything by myself.
Were you scared to quit or were you
I
scared?
was scared of the unknown.
As we all are.
Since COVID hit, alcohol was comfort
Right.
because the world was scary.
Right.
When Mary called me that morning, I was terrified. I thought for sure she was going to tell me that kids were gone.
Mhm.
I was never going to see them again. I was prepared to hit that bottle, and I was prepared to.
You were going to crawl
I
into
was-
it is what you were going to do.
I was going to end it all.
Mhm.
But then and I don't know why she does it, but she loves me. And she gave me Rob's number, and I think I waited a few hours, and I called him, and
How'd that conversation go?
I think I shook throughout the whole conversation.
Do you remember any of it?
You know, I it's kind of a blur, but I just remember the joy
After the conversation.
that that little hope, that little sliver of hope, was there. I wasn't alone.
I was talking to Aaron, one of our brothers. Everybody knows. Well, I was headed to the airport to go to Vegas. Mary calls. I'm like, hold on, Aaron. Mary's calling. So hang up. Talk to Mary. She says, hey, can I give your number? Absolutely. I goes, this your husband? Right? Yes, sure. They don't ever call. I didn't tell her that, but in my mind.
Yeah.
So
She knew it.
get off the phone, call Aaron back. Well, Aaron calls me back. Hey, what did Mary want? Because everybody loves Mary, right?
Right. We all love
Something
Mary.
about Mary.
Right.
What did Mary want? She called to give me her ex-husband's phone number. She wants to help. He goes, oh, Rob, there's still love there. Ex-wives don't do that. They're going to get back together. He said that day. That's prophesied.
I got a phone call. I was sitting in the Kmart parking lot, wondering what.
Where in the fuck was there a Kmart parking lot still around here?
Good old Oakdale. It's not there anymore.
It is
Well, the
too.
building is, but
Okay.
yeah, it's no longer operational.
What were you doing there?
I was wondering where I was going in life. I was
Really? So you were contemplating.
Yep. I knew I had to change, but
Did you think you were getting a blue light special?
what's that?
Are you too?
Kmart reference.
Sorry, that's how long Kmart hasn't been operational. No, I knew I needed help. I knew I wanted what Mary had. I didn't know how to ask her. I only knew how to self implode. So it was scary, not knowing what to do. And I knew eventually that phone call was going to come from Mary, and I was relieved with just her understanding.
What did you think was coming?
I thought that my kids were never going to be in my presence again. I thought that I had screwed up too many times, and that was the last time. I will go back, though, and say the altercation, that was because of me. I blacked out my only that I can remember blacking out. And I grabbed her father by his shirt, and that was a little flash of reality. And then being on the ground and wrestling with him. And then there's just flashes of me breaking windows and kicking doors.
Your flashes in your memory.
Yes. I don't have a clear memory of that day. I remember going to her house to try to get her some help. But I drank the whole way there. So, but she got help, and I struggled for the next 2 years trying to get sober on my own. I just didn't want to accept it, that I was an alcoholic. And then when I screwed up, I got drunk at the cabin, drove home drunk with the kids. Thank God Adam said something, because I wouldn't be here had Mary not called me, had Mary not give me Rob's number. But I was done. I was so done. I wanted my family back. I was tired.
Your ass was kicked.
My ass was kicked. I had done kicked my ass. And so, yeah, I called Rob, and he said, hey, follow me. And that it wasn't even a year, but it was a struggle. But life was getting better. Promises, I didn't even know what promises were.
I'm going to back up just for a minute because I meant to bring this in. You just said it was a struggle. What do you mean by that?
It was a struggle. I was committed to AA. I was in it. I wanted to be sober. but I didn't accept that I was an alcoholic yet. And so
Okay, you were still fighting that part of it.
I still had the internal arguments.
But this is after you'd talking to Rob.
This was after I
Really?
talked to Rob. And
As
so,
soon as I got back, we started. Well, you know how I do it. We
Right.
don't F around. We fucking
Right.
go.
Yep.
Just like the old timers did. So we went fast, and he still struggled also with wanting to stop by that liquor store. And
Right.
but he would call me, Rob, I wanted to do it, but then
Yep.
we're doing our steps.
it's break time. They're expecting
Just the
me.
routine of what he would
Right.
do.
Right.
And so it was hard. And I thought I would never get it. I thought it would never become clear, until I accepted. I don't know what happened, but it was just a feeling of, okay, I am not getting away from this. I cannot fake this. If I lie to Rob, Rob's going to kick my ass. He told me he would.
He's only 4'11".
410, baby.
He's got some big guns though.
All love it.
I got you back.
But there was a moment somewhere in July. So my last drink was March 12th.
Okay.
Somewhere in July.
23.
Yes.
March 12th of 23.
Yes. In July, it just kind of hit me. I didn't want to screw these guys over. I didn't want to disappoint Rob. I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to fail my kids. I didn't want to fail Mary. And so it was just this accepting feeling that I got, that, hey, I am an alcoholic, and it felt good to say it. I didn't cringe from it. It was, hey, that was the truth. I can say it now and not be ashamed. And, but I still struggled. I still had those moments through the day where, hey, a shot sounds really good right now.
How far into your steps were you still having those feelings?
So we went through the steps pretty fast. We did the steps. It was probably within a month we got through them.
Thoroughly. I mean,
Yeah, but
and even the two, it would be nice to get to the two that you swore would never happen, which we will get to because of Adam.
right.
We'll get to those two, which were amazing God moments.
Yeah. Yeah. The good old toilet.
The good old
need a toilet installed.
Right.
Who are you
Yeah,
gonna
but-
call? And so I knew that I would never have the opportunity to make an amends to my ex-in-laws. Two people that I love dearly and that I treated so bad.
But you treated them like that
Because
Through
I
your
was
addiction.
drunk.
or your disease.
Because I was scared, and
Right.
and that was my coping mechanism.
So when you came into the Mondays, so the funny story about this whole thing is we went through.
You're making her cry again.
It's
These are good
okay.
tears, though. These are happy.
This whole story, and this is why I'm trying so hard to make sure it gets told, because this story is amazing, and I want to make sure it gets told right. So Mary told me, when Mary said her divorce was final, right? Well, okay, I didn't know. And then a few months after that, there's a new guy that comes into
Not everybody knows about
primary
our
purpose.
and then the Monday men's meet, our Monday
Wh-
group.
Right. And I'm going to get to that. So this new guy shows up and you're sitting across, and I'm thinking it's a new guy. No big deal. We get him quite often, and thank God I introduced myself. We talked for a few minutes. And then on Monday night, we have a men's meeting that, that we all meet together. Not really an AA meeting. It's just a group of assholes that sit around and bullshit, and we break open the word and the big book, and we go through it, and we have it. It's this when we.
But it's a close knit. We hold
It's
each
a
other
very
accountable. We go
close.
camping together.
Right. I mean, when Steve-O talked in that first one, when it talks about a pack, this is our pack. I mean, there ain't one of us
Anywhere
in there.
from 9 to 14 of us,
Right.
that are tight.
We've had 22 people in that room at one time, and I mean, we're all together, right? And all of a sudden, here comes this new guy that I saw at my home group, and you get introduced, and they go, "This is Mary's ex-husband," and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
I did. Right across the room. I'm like, what? What's going on? And then the whole story comes out. And then I'm like, oh my God, this is a God moment right here. I mean, it was incredible. So tell us how. I want to go when you started getting sober. Did you think that did you do it for Mary's to get back with Mary?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I actually told him on that phone call that if I had seen him make any changes in the last 2 years, we wouldn't have been divorced.
Wow. Okay.
So
I'm going to ask you a real tough question right now because a lot of our listeners are probably going, wait a minute. When did you get sober for yourself? When did you decide I got to do this for me?
That is a tough question. You know, I don't know if I ever made that decision. I think that so,
Well, here's a way to answer that. Because there's what gets us in the room, then there's what keeps us in the room. If today Mary was gone, kids were gone, would you go back to drinking or would you stay this life?
no, I would stay this life.
So you're doing it for you.
I'm doing it now for me.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you.
That's what I'm here for, baby.
You know, the thing is I knew the answer to that, right? I was wanting to hear it from you. You
just got to know how to pull it out of Matt. Matt is soft spoken. He is handsome.
He is.
But one of the nicest human beings, one of the, introverted, he'll stay inside all he can if you don't.
I know, but
it
I
out.
needed our listeners to hear that, right? Because we have to get sober for ourselves. I've said this to
but
Katie.
what gets you in there, whatever gets you through the door is great.
Right.
But what's going to keep you eventually?
And I agree with you wholeheartedly, Rob, wholeheartedly with that. But when I got sober, and I even tell Katie this now, before it was, I put Larry first, right? But now it's God, my sobriety, then Katie, right? I won't put anything in front of my sobriety.
If you do, you'll lose it.
Right.
Anything you put in front of your sobriety,
I won't put anything in front of God, and I won't put anything in front of my
And for
sobriety.
me, those are tight. Those are tight.
Well, yeah,
Everything
of
in my
course.
life is contingent on my sobriety.
Right.
Everything.
Right.
My home, my family, my job, my income, everything in my life hinges on the fact that I stay sober.
Right. Talk to us about the toilet. Let's jump into that.
The toilet. Yep. So I was
I love you, Matt.
I was getting so mad. I was getting so mad, just telling myself stories. It's never going to happen. They fucking hate me, and they have every reason to. And I'm sure it was starting to build on me.
It was starting to weigh on you heavy.
To where it probably would have made me make a bad decision.
Because you had no relationship with them at that point.
I did not know.
Even though you and Mary were starting to put things back together.
Yes. Trying to. But they wrote me off. Well, in my mind, they wrote me off. I no longer existed, which was hurtful. But that wasn't the case at all. Just like Mary, they were just waiting. They were just waiting for me to do something positive with my life. But they couldn't make me do it. They needed to see that I wanted it. So Mary calls me and says, "Hey, my dad's toilet's broken and they want to know if you can, help pick it up from Home Depot." And so I was blown away. I called Rob, like, "You're never going to believe this." They want me, to help them. They actually want me over at their house.
And he was shitting himself.
Oh my God.
How long had you been sober?
See that? So
Yeah, maybe 3 months. It was
Mary, see that black thing above your head? It's called a microphone. Goofball.
I'm trying not to talk over him. It's new behavior for me. So I'm using my tools, Larry.
That's good.
So yes, we picked up the toilet and
But what did Rob say to you?
Who?
What did Rob say to you when you called Rob and asked him? He was,
Third person now?
yeah. What did Rob say? I was waiting for you to say it because I don't remember. I know exactly because like we talked about on the drive here, how I'm intentional about
Right.
all my relationships. The way we're in this thing,
Right.
And I'm always setting things up for the next. This is for my daughter. But yeah, I remember, and I always like to hear how people. Well, Rob said this. Well, but that's how they heard it.
Right.
So I'm always excited about that kind of.
Yeah.
What did that dipshit say to you?
Yeah. Oh, is it odd or is it God?
Yeah.
It could have been that. Could
Yeah,
have been
something
else.
But of course, you go put the toilet in.
Yeah.
Right.
He said, "Go do it."
And don't say anything. Just
Right.
put it in and say, "Thank you for allowing me to help," and then leave.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's not what happened, is it, Matt?
No. I walked in there, shaking like a leaf, and I get there. We set it down, and Susan, Mary's mom, looks at me and she says, "Are you ready?" And I fucking lost it, and I started bawling. And I said, "No, I am not ready."
Because you hadn't seen him since the altercation.
No, I was ready for an ass kicking again. So, but it didn't come. She led me out there, and I stood in front of him. I tried to be composed, but I wasn't at all. And he just looked at me and reached his arms out and so he held me, I held him, and I fucking cried. And then I tried to make the amends, but it came out all garbled. I probably said I'm sorry 1,000 times and that I love him, that I would never do it again. It didn't come out like it should have, but
Yes, it did.
Yeah, it came out
perfectly.
exactly the way it's supposed to
Yes,
come out.
it
Glorious.
happened the way it was supposed
Were you there,
to
Mary?
happen.
Oh, you were there.
She was.
Excuse myself.
Will you put that mic in front of you?
I excused myself from the room, having some experience with amends. I didn't want to add any more pressure.
Gotcha.
So all that fear that I had placed on myself wasn't even there. It was all imaginary.
As it usually is.
Right. Let's talk about Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving of 2023.
So I'm going to go back a little bit before
Sure.
Thanksgiving. In
Yep.
October, we took our very first family vacation.
After recovery.
After recovery, after divorce. As a family, the three boys and Matt and I went to Disneyland for the week, and we had a beautiful, wonderful time. It was probably the best vacation I've ever had my whole life because it was so stress-free. I mean, it was hotter than Dickens, but it was a great time. And so my family was out of town. We went to Disneyland and came back, and they went away. And so we had the house to ourselves. And so I said, I'm going to make a Thanksgiving dinner on Saturday, I think, before Thanksgiving. And the kids and everybody, Matt came, and it was just our sweet little tiny family, right? The five of us, the three boys and mom and dad, and we had our own little dinner, and it was a beautiful thing. And then on Thanksgiving, Matt took the boys to his family. At this point, we start noticing that Adam is he's overeating. That I think, looking back at it, Adam, our youngest, he was 6. He just started eating so much at Thanksgiving, he would throw up. Just like he didn't have an off button, or he never felt full. He would eat and eat and eat and eat. So about a week after Thanksgiving, he wasn't feeling good. He had a headache. He had a stomach ache. And I noticed that he kind of had his head tilted to the side. So we took him to the doctor. They did some x-rays on his stomach and did like the regular kid routine. Okay, well, it looks like he's constipated. That's about 2 weeks after Thanksgiving. On December the 17th, my mom and dad came. They'd been home for about a week, and she had started to notice that Adam's head was tilted to the side, and he was having trouble with one of his eyes. So I made appointments for the optometrist and the primary care doctor, and we went to the primary care doctor first. When we got there, she kind of didn't think there was anything wrong. This is on December 19th. So we told her, no, what's going on with his eye? It's kind of floating up to his eyelid, and his neck is turned to one side. I don't know really what's going on, but I'm concerned. And so she sent us right over to the emergency room. And they moved us through quite quickly, actually, which is in my brain a red flag.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
when they know, they know.
So they took us in and gave Adam a CAT scan where they found a mass on the left side of his brain. And on December 19th at about 9 o'clock, I think, we rushed over from Modesto to Palo Alto at Stanford at the Lucille Pickard Children's Hospital, where they informed us that Adam had brain cancer. And they needed to get some better images in order to tell us what treatment we could do or what our options were. At that point, we still had some hope for Adam. Later that night, our hope was crushed. Adam was diagnosed with something called glioblastoma, which is an inoperable brain cancer because it doesn't grow like a tumor. It grows like roots and infiltrates the brain. It's a very common cancer in older people. Unfortunately, I think the numbers for children pediatric cases somewhere around 3,000 per year in the country, which is, it's either 300 or 3,000. I'd have to go back and look.
But it's not.
It's not a lot.
Not a lot.
It's a small amount of people. We were still hopeful. We still had hope that there were some treatment options, and he still, the way the tumor had grown, it kind of grew out to his ear canal. So we were able to safely do a biopsy to get the particular mutations of his disease. Unfortunately for Adam, it was very aggressive. We came home for Christmas, and it was a beautiful Christmas. But what I can tell you, when our families found out that Adam was going to be sick, that Adam was very sick, they clashed, right? And not in a bad way. They came and it was like they were soldiers in arms together, brothers in arms, right? So it was, they weren't clashing against each other. They were grasping each other at the elbow, right? They were making that chain of love and protection around us. Before we got home, we had people from AA on the phone with us. We had our sponsors. We had all the love of our family. When we got home, we were able to take care of our son. We were able to give him a beautiful Christmas. And we were also able to give him a beautiful birthday. So Adam survived his 7th birthday by 10 days. He was at home. We did try some treatment. We tried radiation, and it did not treat him well. His cancer had grown aggressively, and the oncologist, Matt, actually asked the oncologist, can you just please tell me how bad this really is, or tell me what you would do? I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was that moment in the office where she looked at us and said, I'm concerned that he'll survive the treatment.
What?
That he won't survive
Right.
the
Oh,
treatment.
won't.
Won't.
Okay.
Which is true.
Yeah.
His cancer had grown so aggressively that he couldn't walk, he couldn't speak, couldn't feed himself, he couldn't see out of one of his eyes. And that wasn't the kind of guy he was. He was vivacious. He was lively. He was the energy of every party, not just when he walked in the room. If he was there, the party was good because he was making it happen that way. He was my little break dancer. He was the guy that had a smile on his face every second. He would pose for pictures. I can't even get my 17-year-old to do that. But we talk about Adam in a way that makes it, I want to immortalize him in a way because he saved our family. We were at a crossroads, right? Our marriage failed for more than one reason. Alcohol had a big part to play, but our boundaries had an even bigger part to play than alcohol. We couldn't make boundaries with our families. We couldn't accept boundaries from our families. So to see them come together and to be a huge part of his, I hate calling it a passing, because he didn't pass. He wasn't out with a whimper. He was called home and he marched to his God.
Wow.
And I believe that.
Yeah.
because he was a warrior. He was a knight. And we call him Sir Adam the Heart Healer. Because he did. He had a certain way that brought people together. Because you couldn't know him without loving him, even when he was a shit. Well, anyway, we had people in our home day and night. We had people showing up with food, with big books, with Bibles, with money, with gift cards, with gifts, with time. That one is the one is my favorite. We had people show up and give us their time.
Yeah, Larry and Rob, you guys showed up at Stanford.
Yeah, time and effort and energy and an intentional way to show somebody that you love them.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. Anyway, I have moments while we're at the hospital with Adam. That moment of clarity came to me one more time. There's always, I have been taught that you will surrender your will to God, regardless of how much you want to fight it. So you can surrender on your knees, or you can surrender with God holding you. And I prefer it so much better when God is holding me, because I'm already on my knees at this point. Anyway, you boys were there. Rob and Larry had come, and they had taken Matt to lunch. And he had just gotten back. You guys had brought me something, and I'd stepped away. And I found myself in the bathroom on the PICU of the Lucille Pickard Children's Hospital, talking to my God in the mirror. And just thinking, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And that moment of clarity was absolutely nothing.
Oh,
It's nothing. I can't fix him. I can't fix this. I don't know what tomorrow's going to look like. But in the very next breath, that next thought in my mind was, but God already has taken care of this for us. He has already taken care of this for me. And I believe that. I think in that moment, the moment of clarity that I had, it changed everything from me, from hope to faith. That's where I've had a higher power forever. And I've had a conscious contact with the God of my understanding for quite some time now. That moment was me walking up to my God and getting wrapped in his arms. And I was able to make decisions and listen. And I was able to stop fighting. Because at that moment, the fight was over. He was in his victory lap. And I got to have my baby at home. He didn't want to be there anymore. And I didn't want to watch him suffer because he would if we tried to do any more of the radiation.
right.
So we talked with the doctors, and Matt and I spoke. Thank God for Matt. Everybody wants to say how softly spoken and quiet he is, but that man is a quiet strength. You have no idea. I would not have been able to survive without my higher power,
Right.
or Matt, or, if I'm being honest, just about every goddamn person on this planet.
Right.
I need every single one of you. And I've learned a little bit enough about myself that it's okay to ask. It's okay to ask when I need something now.
Did you ever think about a drink?
Not once.
Not once.
Not one time.
How about you, Matt? Did you ever through that?
You know, alcohol was on my mind up until December 19th. And then when we were told in Modesto that they found a mass, that was the last time I think that I can remember even thinking about alcohol.
And how long had you been sober up to that point?
About 10 months.
Yeah.
But yeah, when that happened, it, like Mary said, I wasn't holding myself up. I wasn't in control of my thoughts. There's no way.
So I tell you this story to people a lot. Rob, because I asked Rob when he came back, and I said something, and maybe you can go on this a little bit, Matt. I said, how's he doing? And Rob goes, Larry, he said the other day that he thanked God for his sobriety through this whole thing, that he could have not ever done this if he had been drinking, and that he couldn't have been there for Mary if he'd have still been drinking. That he was thankful for his sobriety for this. And to think about that, being the insane people that we are, the sick-minded people we are, to be able to have that thought when you're going through has to be the worst pain a parent could ever feel.
He called me. He goes, Rob, we had a rough night last night. And I said, well, my phone, remember we had talked about the things I'd share, because when I leave my phone on, because in early sobriety it was rough for Rob. And I didn't have that option I just suffered through it. So I call them my guys, they're God's guys, but call me, because when you don't, it's selfish. And you take away our opportunity to be of service. And I said, well, why didn't you call, Matt? He goes, well, we let the nurse watch Adam, and I pulled Mary aside, and we made a gratitude list. I said, really? Walked out and made a gratitude. They just told you about your son.
In the middle of pain.
Just pull it and just where you talk about the tools we got, and made a gratitude list.
And that's the strength of Mary and her program right there. And
then Matt says, and Mary's awesome. And so when me and Doug went up, and speaking of what Mary talked about, me and Doug went up and having lunch with Matt. We pulled him aside, and they're getting ready to bring him home for the last time, and just bring him home. And Matt says, what my son is, he's telling me and Doug this, that what my son is doing is not lost on me. Being the families coming together, because that's who Adam was. He had never met a stranger. He was a joiner. He was a heart. Yeah. And I always got to probe, Matt, what are you feeling? What are you thinking? Because because that's just what we do, right? And because I got to know.
Right.
And he says, Rob, I'm not the first dad whose son has brain cancer. I'm not the last father whose son's going to have brain cancer. I'm just the father right now, and I'm good. I've got my family, and we're good. And but I can't imagine in that part of sobriety being just the clarity of mind he had and where he was at. It was just God.
We that have gone through the program, that have been, we
have these tools.
Thank you, Rob. Them. Right, Rob. That's where I was going. The tools that are available, and it's not just for us alcoholics. And I'm going to say that till I'm blue in the.
I said this one time. I said this wouldn't hurt my grandmother. My sister calls me because she listens to this. Our grandmother's dead. That's not the point. The point is, if she was still alive, the steps wouldn't hurt anybody. And I would recommend if you go through them.
Right.
If you want some freedom like you can't even imagine, if you want a relationship with the lover of your soul like you can't imagine, go through them. If you've got guts, because it takes guts, go through them. If you don't, stay bounded.
Yep.
We're bounded.
So
we're bound.
Tell me where you guys are at, and tell me where
That's
you
a
guys.
challenge, by the
way. I could talk for a while on that one right there, Rob. But talk to me where you guys are at. So where you're at with your recovery right now, how you guys are doing following that. What took you? Did you feel like you walked away from it? Do you feel like you went deeper into your recovery? Tell me how you. Because I know there was a little bit of a period of time, Matt, that you struggled. And I mean, you struggled a little bit.
And there will be more times.
100%.
Yeah. I have a relationship with God now that I didn't before. I have an honesty now. Where I am, though, I went through hard times, but I still do. I mean, even today was hard. But honestly, I look to Mary. I see you.
You guys
Rob,
are sponsor of each other.
She's not my sponsor, and she
don't you wave your finger.
She's quick to say, "Hey, I don't want to sponsor you."
It is not my job to be his sponsor. It is my job to stand by him whenever he asks.
Okay.
Amen.
All right.
But I love when.
But you hold each other accountable.
It comes out, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can't tell me you don't, Mary.
Well, they AA each other, I'm sure, a little bit.
Yeah,
But
you know what? It's a really interesting thing because now we have something in common that not only our children, but we have this thing where we can talk to each other about
Right.
it and understand things differently about each other
Mhm.
that I never could have thought before. It's
Right.
just all of it has taught me how to shift my perspective.
Right. But you're two drunks that fell apart that fell back in love.
they never fell out of love. They loved.
No. They did.
Oh,
Well, I mean, think about it. You can't, when you guys
ask
were,
them.
No.
Matt, did you ever stop loving
well,
Mary?
Mary already
No.
said it.
Yeah.
Well, Mary already said it that she never did, right? So she did. But you fell into a period where you decided divorce was the only way to go.
It was like resentment.
Because
Right.
for the health
Well,
of the
I
relationship.
think
my
it was for the
point-
health of the children.
Right.
Because we were going the wrong way fast.
But this program took that away and brought you back together. And you guys continue to work it. And it grows every day.
Well, I mean, we try. Like I said, we still have every opportunity to be jerks.
What? You guys
but we
don't
have to-
fight.
We don't. There's a reason for that.
Mary, you don't get mad.
She wins.
That's
I do
funny.
get mad. I employ the kind or quiet a lot,
Yeah.
or bite your tongue till it bleeds and swallow the blood.
Mm.
I'm to the point in my life where what is being mad going to do about it?
Uh,
Also, what does mad make me feel? And the most important thing that I have in my life today is some semblance of peace.
Right.
And serenity.
Right.
And I want to safeguard it. It is mine.
Right.
And nobody else gets to touch
I
it.
preach it all the time, girl.
So I don't sponsor him, but I do get to talk to him about where he's at.
And be very careful and I apologize for saying that sponsor each other, but to me, so Rob was my sponsor, right? Rob walked me through that. He's no longer my sponsor.
We're brothers.
We're brothers, right? We
And me and Matt are brothers.
right.
And we sharpen each other.
And my wife is probably more, I look at my wife as more of my sponsor now because I tell her everything. I wouldn't tell her shit before. Because you know what? And she still has a struggle. She still struggles with some of the shit that comes out of my mouth, right? She has a hard time with it.
She calls me from time to time.
I don't want to struggle. I get to make that decision these days. I don't want to struggle. I want Matt to find somebody that he can unleash all of his uglies to.
Right.
And then he can come to me as a whole
But that's
person.
what partners do. That's what partners do, right? And I even early in my sobriety, I was struggling to talk to Katie about some things because I worried about how she was going to respond to them or how she was going to do this. And I don't anymore, right? It's not that I don't worry about her. What I don't worry about is how she's going to feel about it because she's my partner.
You can't control that anyway.
No, that's what I'm trying to
I
get
know.
to, Rob, is that if this upsets her, I'm sorry, but I got to get it out, right? And you're my partner.
I feel like when one of us is down, the other one can carry a little bit extra of the load.
Gotcha.
But I don't.
But what relationship is ever 50-50? It's never.
I don't think they
sometimes
ever
it's
should be.
70-30.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it's 80-20. And sometimes,
Right.
Well, and I think too,
I'm glad
something
you
I
got
didn't
your math
realize.
right.
Sometimes I didn't realize something that I didn't realize when I got married originally is that I heard people say it's you two against the world, and that's fine and good. But I don't want to be against the world. I want to be us two. Opening our arms
Right.
and taking parts of the world that we
Right.
enjoy and like together. But one of the other things that really trying to articulate it in a way that doesn't make me sound silly. There's a certain kind of pride, I guess there is to say, whenever I'm sitting in a room with Matt and he has that nugget, you find those nuggets
Right.
in every meeting, in every room. There's
Right.
always one, right? And every once in a while he will pop off with a nugget. And I think to myself, wow, you're so profound and wise.
He'll do it in our Monday night meeting. Sometimes I was like, where the fuck did he come from?
And then you start saying it, right? I start saying the things he says.
That did come from me.
It's not that we are propping each other up, it's that we're learning. We're
Right.
learning more about ourselves through each other.
And that's why I was trying to dig some more out of Matt, but I think that
But
mic
he
in front
doesn't.
of him.
But you'll find because in the rooms there's a lot of and he's talking about our Monday night men's
Right.
group, which is our it's amazing group.
Right.
But it's very unfiltered as it should be. But when Matt and there, Larry speaks a lot. I'm called because
Yeah, he spoke. In fact, what's funny is just this last Monday, Matt was speaking. I'm like, holy shit, somebody lit him up.
Well, he's been there are times, because we've talked about it. He's been wanting to, like when Adam, you know, he wanted to come in and just really take over the meeting. Hey, listen, let's not read this chapter. I want to talk, and I wish he had done that.
Right.
Because again, when you don't do that, you're being selfish. And I've told Matt, because you're taking away our opportunity to be of service to someone that we love, brother. And that's get us out of our selfish effing minds as alcoholics. And I wish he would have done that. But now he knows, you know. And anytime someone needs that, this is great. But when a brother, sister needs, that takes precedent, because that's why we're there for. That's why we started Monday meetings, to strengthen brothers, to go out into the world and be lights and salt, and then come back in, get that refilling, and go back out, because it's tough out there.
One of those nuggets that I hold on to very dearly is I equals illness and we equals wellness. It's in the spelling of the words.
Yeah.
I'm just stealing that.
If I am alone, I'm going to be ill forever.
Right.
But if we work on it together, we are going to recover together, and it's a beautiful thing. I always heard in the rooms that, you know, just wait until you see the light come on in somebody's eyes. And I hadn't seen that for a while until this one, Matthew, comes around, and I get to see it happen to him. And it's a glorious view, right?
Yeah.
The beauty of him was there, but then all of a sudden it was radiant,
Right.
It's that part of you whenever you have that spiritual experience and that that's psychic change.
And you had a second connection to that. Not only did you see a fellow member of
Another drunk,
another drunk, lights come on. You got to see the love of your life, which you just said. His eyes, his light come on, and you didn't only see that, but you saw your whole future getting brighter. You saw your family getting back together. You saw, I mean, it'd be like
life.
Right. I mean, I couldn't imagine looking at this bald dude sitting across from me and going, oh my God, I'm spending the rest of my life with that guy. But you're looking at Matt going, I get to spend the rest of my life with this man whose life.
But let me ask you this, though. Because because I know, being in the middle of it all, the love that was always there. I mean, the way you spoke and the way you cried when the divorce was final, and going through his step work, and the way when he would just speak your name, you know, the look. But what is this love like? I mean, nothing. I mean, you haven't experienced this yet. This is brand new. But tell me, what's this love like?
I wish everybody
Matt,
could feel this.
Well, tell me, baby.
It's a peace. It's a connection. It's a intimacy that I thought I knew what love was before when I got married. I had no idea. This is beyond. You know, I was selfish before. I mean, people are selfish in general.
Right.
But, you know, now that I'm sober, you know, that I lost everything that I cherished, you know, the most in this world.
Right.
To lose it and then to have the opportunity to get it back, to fight for it, you know.
I mean, that's it, because it wasn't given. You guys earned it.
No, it wasn't.
You fought for it.
It wasn't given. And so now that I have this love, I am, you know, knock on wood, but I am never going back. I don't want to. I have a peace, you know. Yes, our son just died, but I have a peace of mind and a peace in my soul that, I mean, it shouldn't be there, but it is, because I'm sober.
God is good.
Amen.
Right.
You know, and I
Mary, what's I'm sorry, man. What's this love? I mean, what's this love like for you?
Well, I mean, it's okay.
Fucking nut job.
Hey, here we go. Yeah, you got to cut me down.
Just kidding. We're keeping us right size, guys. We're keeping us right size.
Humility.
No, it is different. It's mature. It's an adult love. It's the kind
of what you were talking about. Getting, we guys. That's what kind of break you up in the middle, the beginning, because you were just immature.
Right. You know, in the process of going through the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, there is one that says, I found that I didn't know myself, right? In learning how to decide, and every day, right? Because that's a step for me. Every day I decide. I wake up and I decide I'm not going to drink today. I found that if I take out the word alcohol in any one of those steps for Alcoholics Anonymous and the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, I can put anything in it, right? I am powerless over grief.
Right.
I'm powerless over heartache. I'm powerless over you, powerless over me. And if I work the steps on it, I feel some relief. So when we get down to the nitty gritty of it, when I start to decide who I want to be, I get to decide who I want to love. Does that make sense? I got that through the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. I got that choice.
Mm-hmm.
I learned who I was. I learned what characteristics, I would say, defined me. And at that moment, because I had a choice, I could choose whether I liked it and wanted it, or choose whether I wanted to get rid of it and work on that. So just like having a conscious contact and having those choices, I have a conscious contact with my God. I have to also have a conscious contact with people. I have to speak with them with intention. I have to open my mouth, and when I speak to them, it's not just fluff, right? It has to be something that makes sense. So I learned how to love myself a little bit, learn parts of myself that I wanted to keep around, and then get rid of the parts of myself that I didn't love. And in that process, I got to decide what I wanted to be and I got to decide to be a good person to love. Does that make sense?
Perfect.
I wanted
Absolutely.
to be the person that was there to comfort.
Right.
I wanted to be the ear that was always able to listen, because I wanted those things. Alcoholics Anonymous taught me how to become what I wanted, so that whenever what I wanted was in front of me, I could see it. Does that make sense?
Yo,
Yes.
100%.
So my love today is twofold, right? I love seeing changes. I love the adventures that we're on. But on top of that, I love changing with him. I love becoming better with him. I love being able to communicate better with him. And on top of that, I love his presence. And I can't say I love very many presences, in my drinking days. I didn't like anybody around me. So in this very moment, what is that love like? Fucking glorious.
Awesome.
It was what it should have been. That's what it is.
Right.
I should have been consciously working on my relationship with myself and my spouse and my children. But I can't sit back and say should anymore, because I will should myself to death.
Right.
And for me, I get to decide what is life for me. My life is consistent of my family, my husband, my children, the people that I have asked to be part of my family, like my friends, my fellowship. It's not just that I love Matt, I love in general now.
Yep.
Love has changed because now I actually have the capacity to
We're
do
capable of it, finally.
The difference, yes, for sure. Okay, I'm going to ask you guys a real quick question, and we're going to shut this thing down, because we've been talking a lot. I'm going to ask you first, Matt. Would you change anything about your past to be where you're at right now?
No.
You had to go through everything you went through to be the man you are today.
Yep.
Mary, would you change anything about your past?
Absolutely nothing.
Right.
Happens in this life by mistake.
Right. And you go ahead. Finish that.
I have learned in the last 3 years that my understanding of how my higher power works in my life is so small. 3 years ago, when I met my sponsor, I had no idea that her first husband died from brain cancer. 3 years ago, when I met her sponsor, I had no idea that her grandson had died from the same exact cancer that my son died at the same exact age.
Okay.
God has been working and moving people in and out of my life as I need them. And it's made it a whole lot easier for me to be grateful for the things that are in front of me now. Absolutely nothing happens in this life by mistake. Right. And that right there is my proof.
Yep. Well, you two knuckleheads, lovebirds, I love you guys. I'm very happy that you guys agreed to come in here. Your story means a lot to me. I know your story is going to touch a lot of people. I appreciate it. What was the hospital name again?
It was the Lucille Packard Children's Hospital at Stanford University in Palo Alto.
I just want to be able to give some credits to that, because you guys you got a lot of love there. I know when we were there, they were amazing to you guys. They were amazing to Adam. Once again, thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate it. Rob, I wish I could say the same about you.
I will. Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, anytime, baby. Anytime, kid.
I love you guys.
Don't blow his ego up.
It
Anyway,
can't get any bigger. I'm only 4'10", dude.
Right sized.
hey, I was giving you an inch. You the one that said 4'10".
Yeah. My
Anyways,
sister is 4'10", well, she's 4'11", actually.
hey, thank you for
ready.
joining us. Shut up. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. This has been Larry.
This is Rob.
If you ever want to get in touch with us, reach us at
don't know why you
Recovery Unfiltered, Rob and Larry. That's Recovery Unfiltered, Rob and Larry. Thank you for joining us today.
We hope you learned something today that will help you.
If you did not, come back next week and we'll try again.
If you like what we heard, give us a 5-star review. If you don't like what you heard, kiss my... You can't say that, can you? Anyway, if you don't like what you heard, go ahead and tell us that too. We'll see what we can improve. We probably won't change nothing, but do it anyway.
Hey, thanks, Rob. Come back next week and hopefully something will be different and something will sink in.
This has been Recovery Unfiltered.